The loss of a child can bring an almost insurmountable grief to a parent. For Margaret Kilcoyne of Natchitoches, Louisiana, that unspeakable pain was eased somewhat when she decided to adopt. Amazingly, her new child would bring a miraculous message and forever change Margaret's ideas of life and loss. As a young child growing up with two brothers, Brooke Hennigan always dreamed of having a baby sister. But before that could happen, her parents divorced. And then 2 years later, her mother, Margaret, married Jim Kilcoyne.
I seem to recall Brooke being glad that the day had come, finally, and that we were, going to be a family.
Brooke hoped that perhaps now her dream would come true.
We actually talked about Jim and I having children before we got married, and Brooke had always wanted me to have another girl.
Over the next few years, the Kilcoynes tried unsuccessfully to have a child. Margaret's one pregnancy ended in miscarriage. Brooke, now a teenager, was there to comfort her mother.
I've been trying for 3 years now, and I just don't know how many times I can be disappointed, and now this.
She just said, Mom, I believe our family will have another child one day.
You're always so optimistic, aren't you?
But the child never came, and Brooke's life became absorbed with beauty pageants, school, and plans for college.
Mama, you're never going to believe this.
In 1994, she was accepted at Northwestern State University in her native Louisiana.
So excited. You would have thought the child was going to Hawaii to go to school. She was just so excited.
That's wonderful.
But Brooke's plan for a college education was tragically cut short. On August 1st, 1994, she was killed instantly in a car accident. The sudden death of her daughter was more than Margaret could bear. It left a void in her life that nothing could fill. And then one day, in the midst of her grief, she remembered a conversation they'd had.
One day, Brooke started talking about her future, what she planned to do, her family.
I've decided I'm going to adopt a child from every continent.
I said, well, why would you want to adopt? She said, every child deserves a home, and why have more when you can give a child a home that needs a home?
The memory of that discussion gave Margaret a new reason to live. The Kilcoynes immediately applied to adopt a child from another country, a slow and arduous process.
There's nothing we can really do. We've done everything we can possibly do. We have just got to sit here and wait and truly turn this over to God.
Hello?
On what would have been Brooke's 21st birthday, the Kilcoynes received a call.
Really?
And she said, Margaret, I have a 4.5-year-old little Russian girl.
Thank you so much for calling.
From the day that I got that phone call,
Okay, bye-bye.
on that birthday, there was never any doubt in my mind that that was my child. And she was going to be my child. And there was nothing that was going to happen that would take her away from me.
It's just like Brooke to give us a gift on her birthday.
On January 24th, 1997, Margaret and Jim flew to Moscow to pick up their new daughter, Martha.
Please have a seat.
They didn't realize as they arrived at the orphanage that they were about to receive an astonishing revelation.
And when I saw her for the first time, it was like she had this glow around her. She just had this little angelic look about her. And she was the most beautiful child I have ever seen in my life. We brought a little photo album.
And before Margaret could say anything, Martha pointed at the picture of Brooke and said,
Brooke.
I said, she recognized Brooke.
She just says the word Brooke. No?
How could she notice me, Brooke?
And it was just like, in the back of my mind, I could hear Brooke saying, this is your child, this is the child.
Back in the United States, Martha adapted quickly to her new home. And then one night, the Kilcoynes uncovered another piece of the puzzle of how she'd known Brooke's name.
We heard a commotion from her bedroom.
What's the matter?
So I sat up and I said, Martha, you tell Mama what you're saying.
Ja, Vita Brooke.
Well, Martha pointed to a picture of an angel that someone had given her.
No, baby, that's an angel.
Broke.
I told Margaret, she's telling us that Brooke is an angel.
And I finally said, "Da, fine, let's go back to bed."
And it wasn't until months later, several months later, when she was completely conversational in English, that she just told us one night that prior to our arrival in Russia, Brooke had come to her.
Hi, Marta. I'm Brooke.
Brooke come see me and tell me Mommy and Daddy was gonna come, my parents.
I believe Brooke's intervention played a role in us getting Martha and having her brought into our family.
My sister name's Brooke. She's an angel and she's in heaven like Jesus.
My views on this adoption and Martha coming to our family and becoming a part of our family and our daughter is nothing but divine intervention.
Brooke had always dreamed of having a little sister, and her parents believed that she helped them make that dream come true to ease the pain of losing her.
You can't replace a child that's lost. You never can. But that doesn't mean that there's not room in your heart for someone else.
As we just witnessed, a message of love from beyond can soothe the worried heart and make life much more bearable for the bereaved. Our next story takes this kind of message a step further into the realm of guardian angels. Kelly Nicias is about to discover that hers looks very familiar. In August of 1994, Robin Nicias was waiting for her daughter Kelly to arrive home from a summer's job as a camp counselor.
Hello? Kelly!
She called when she got ready to leave and should have been home by about 7 o'clock that evening.
Be careful on the road.
I just had an uneasy feeling all afternoon.
It was a 2.5-hour drive, and 5 hours later, she still hadn't arrived.
By 9 o'clock, I realized that there was something terribly wrong. She should have been home much earlier. I was beside myself. I couldn't seem to do anything but pace and look out the window. I pictured everything that anybody could imagine, that she was laying in a ditch somewhere. I pictured that she'd wrecked the car, that she'd been abducted. By 11 o'clock, I was on the phone. I called the highway patrol.
Kelly Bevins.
Asked them if there'd been any accident reports, and they didn't have any.
Thank you. All right.
And then after that, I started calling hospitals along the way to see if there had been an accident victim that had been brought in.
Hello, yes. I wanted to see if there's been any accident
They
victims
also hadn't had any reports of any accidents and didn't have anybody that was unidentified that they had treated recently. I didn't even know what to think anymore. I just knew that there was something terribly wrong and there was nothing I could do about it. I thought, well, I'll get my mind off of it, I'll watch TV. I was weary with emotion and I fell asleep.
2 hours later, Robin woke with a start.
By then it was 1 o'clock and I felt so guilty. How could I have fallen asleep when I didn't even know if she was safe or not? But I was also overcome by an overpowering feeling that something was desperately wrong, and I felt like she was in grave danger. So at that point, I started praying out loud.
Please send an angel to help Kelly get home safely.
At 2:40 a.m., Robin's prayers were finally answered.
I did see a car turn into the driveway, and I realized it was Kelly. I was just overcome. I just couldn't contain it. I went running outside. I was in tears, and I was so glad to see her. I was so glad she was okay.
Kelly.
I grabbed her and hugged her, and I was crying. And I said, "Where have you been? I've been so worried about you." As we're walking in the house, she says, "Mom, I got to tell you what happened."
I was driving. I was trying to get home.
And the story she told would justify her mother's worst fears.
It was really dark outside.
I was driving, and there was a few times I wasn't sure which way to take, and I kind of guessed. And I finally figured I was going the wrong way when I saw some road signs that were heading west and I lived east. I was driving in the wrong direction for quite a few hours. I backtracked my steps to try to find my way back. I didn't know if I was on the right track or not. And it was probably about 9 o'clock that evening, and it was even harder to find my way. I was exhausted, I was getting tired, and I began kind of dozing off at the wheel. I'd kind of go off the side of the road a little bit, hit the gravel or the bumps, and that'd wake me back up. I kept dozing off, and this time I could see out of the corner of my eye someone sitting in the seat beside me. And that startled me wide awake. It just looked not really like a solid person there, but more of a glowing type of figure sitting beside me.
The ghostly image resembled her grandfather, who'd passed away 8 months earlier.
It wasn't so much as a physical appearance that reminded me of my granddad. I would say it's more of an aura about him. When I saw this entity or this being beside me, I was heading across the road into the ditch, and at that time I slammed on my brakes. And the next thing I know, I had pulled over to the side of the road. I actually looked over there, and whatever was beside me, it was gone.
But she soon realized that whoever it was sitting next to her had saved her life.
The ditches were deep enough that I could have rolled my car easily.
I noticed it was about 1:05.
When Kelly mentioned the time of the event, her mother became overwhelmed with emotion.
I was falling asleep.
Oh my gosh, honey.
It was about 5 or 6 minutes after I'd prayed for God to send her an angel. I told her, I said, Kelly, that wasn't your granddad. That was your angel. It probably saved your life.
The image that I saw, it was such a strong feeling. It was so overwhelming. I didn't think it could be a dream. I think it very well could have been my granddad watching over me or making sure that I didn't get hurt.
It was a miracle. I believe it was a divine miracle from God. I believe that he answered my prayer, that he sent an angel to navigate her car into a safe place, and I believe that God saved her life.
It looks like Kelly's mother was also a kind of guardian angel. What a fortunate young woman.